This dash cam footage was taken on June 2nd, 2022. It happened in Australia. The driver of this vehicle had both a front-facing and rear-facing camera. Around 5:00 p.m., the driver was pulling up to a red light to turn left. In the rear-facing camera, Mercedes can be seen pulling up just behind it. Almost immediately after, the driver's side door swings open. A man gets out and starts quickly approaching the vehicle holding some sort of metal object. Fortunately, the driver happened to be looking in the rearview mirror when the door opened, which gave him enough time to react. He was forced to drive off the road and through a patch of grass, cutting 3 cars in front of him. The man with the Mercedes was left standing in the roadway. The driver who uploaded the footage doesn't know what the man wanted. You mentioned how it was possible he could have cut off the Mercedes earlier on the road without knowing, but evidence of this was never found anywhere in the footage. He could have been trying to rob the driver, or maybe even worse. There's no clear way of knowing for sure. This dash cam footage was recorded in May 2020. Joan is a vehicle driving down the road in heavy rain and high wind. The area had seen storms like this for the last few weeks. As the driver pushes through right up ahead, power lines begin to tip over. One of them gives out and takes many others down with it. The power lines exploded as they hit the wet ground. Cables and debris are left strewn across the highway. A man on a motorcycle coming from the opposite direction can be seen stopping and running on foot into a field to get away from the wires. And shortly after, the driver with the dash cam does something similar. He drives off the road onto a nearby dirt path, power lines still exploding in the distance. It's unknown if anyone was injured during the incident. A group of firefighters is driving down an extremely treacherous and fiery road in Australia during an intense wildfire outbreak that spread across the entire country. These firefighters are driving through an especially bad stretch of it, desperately trying to get out of there. Because there is a fire on either side of them, they must stay in the vehicle or else they will perish in the flames.
The window. Alright, 17 feet reading, and we'll just take it slow. We'll just put some oxygen in them for the driver over. Drop your fire curtains on the sides, over.
Got no choice, we've got to get through this.
If you can't get in with the front, drop your side curtain, just leave the front open. Just keep following us.
Thankfully, this band of incredibly brave and courageous firefighters managed to escape the outbreak and live to see another day. But it makes you think, what could have happened had these men not been as careful and brave? This dashcam video was captured in Nuevo Laredo in Mexico. A man and his wife had just crossed the border into the country in the early morning hours of January 3rd of 2020. Shortly after, they were met by this sight. Cars. Not that a light blocking the road with multiple people standing nearby. As the driver approaches, the car in the middle lane pulls forward, and the people outside gesture for the driver to pass through. However, just as he tries to do so, a pickup pulls around the corner and blocks the open path. That's when the people outside begin banging on the driver's windows and pulling at the door handles.
Cartel. Yeah.
The group does whatever they can to get the vehicle to stop, but the quick maneuvers of the driver allow to speed around the blocking vehicles and get away back in the opposite direction. Groups such as this one are commonly known to set up roadblock traps like this in different areas. Typically, they'll be looking for passing trucks to steal, which they'll then use for a multitude of different purposes. However, they also steal wallets, cell phones, and other valuable items from these unsuspecting drivers. Multiple reports of stolen items, including cars, were filed that morning. This dash cam footage was taken from a pickup truck in Chile. The driver had just gotten on a highway on a ramp. As he continued forward, the vehicle just in front of him starts using the brakes to slow down. Eventually, they come to a complete stop altogether. That's when the vehicle is doing a swing. All but two guys getting out, one armed with one that looks like a gun. Initially, the drummer transversing out of there, but there was now a car behind him. This gave him no other option than to push forward. The vehicles pushed far enough for the driver to get onto the highway. During the push, the brake lights of the attacker's vehicle are shown turning on, but this has almost no effect on the pickup. The video was shown to police to help identify the men. It was also posted online, and a few days later, the real owner of the vehicle used by the men recognized the car as their own. It turns out the car had been stolen a few days before this video was taken. This is what led police to believe then the men were also trying to steal the pickup. First up, we have a video that shows someone driving down a fairly isolated highway, except for the massive semi-truck directly next to the driver, whose dash cam captured the footage. Because the road is so twisty and bendy at one point in the video, it looks as though they're only inches away from crashing into each other. Thankfully, it didn't come to that, but I'm terrified to think of the consequences if it did. The Florida Highway Patrol shared the following video with the public, and it made everyone who's seen it scratch their heads in utter bewilderment. It was recorded on July 20th, 2022, and takes place at a grocery store parking lot in Lake County, Florida. Out of nowhere, a woman seems to walk out of the store and then directly in front of a vehicle recording the incident. The woman seems to be brandishing a whip and a pitchfork. She then does some weird movements and stands directly in the car's path at one point. The woman was later identified as 56-year-old Lacey Sloan. The manager of the grocery store said that Sloan was spotted attempting to sell stuffed teddy bears behind the store the day previously. She also apparently stabbed a passing minivan with a pitchfork. According to the arrest report, Sloan refused to drop her weapons, resisting arrest. Once in the police car, she unbuckled her seatbelt and tried desperately to escape. She told the police she no longer feels pain and said God is in control. A toxicology report did reveal that she had drugs in her system at the time of the arrest, which certainly explains things. This clip was recorded by a motorist who was riding around in the Philippines in June 2020. All seems to be going completely normal for the rider when all of a sudden the road barrier begins to move onto the road, blocking oncoming traffic. What could have possibly caused this to happen? If not some sort of paranormal presence, this must have been a case of extremely strong wind. This video was uploaded by NBC New York on May 21st of 2022, in which dash cam footage shows a very saddening incident. A passenger harasses a Lyft driver in New York. The woman passenger starts misbehaving with the driver and abused him nonstop, just as he was calling 911. She went on to grab his phone and bit his arm. The driver quickly got out of the car to get help as the woman got fiercer and more violent. The driver contacted NYPD, but they closed the case without even pursuing any action against the rider. Well, comment below on what you think about this situation. Nighttime in Russia YouTube channel Illustrated magazine published yet another crazy Russian video in November of 2013. Get ready for it. A highway in the darkness of night. Some light music headlights the road. And then out of nowhere, Wayne, an enormous bundle of sticks, blasted into the middle of the road at that moment. Who knows? All I know is that this driver is a pro. He kept his wits about him enough to not overcorrect, even though this clearly scared him as much as it did us. Probably more so. Well, this could have been a falling branch or tree. The right side of the road seems to be clear of trees, and the branches appear to be chucked straight down onto the highway. This was certainly a terrifying event, and with no explanation, we may never know who threw those. Russian truckers versus highway bandits. YouTubers somewhere in Russia published this roadside nightmare in September 2012. In the video description, he writes the author of the video stopped his truck on the road to change the wheel. 3 bandits in blue. Lotta tried to get $100 out of the truck for crossing their territory. As you can see in the footage, the semi is idling while the trucker is likely changing the wheel. As the YouTuber stated, you can see him walk up the road to pick up something off the ground, walk back, and get in his vehicle as the phone rings. When he answers it, you see the blue Lada pulls up alongside him. A man in a tracksuit approaches the driver's side door. Next, you hear the trucker radio for help, and 2 other big rigs soon heed his call. Not sure what is said in the back and forth, but a little later the driver exits his rig to confront the bandits alongside his fellow drivers holding a metal pipe. He walks towards the group, which has grown from 1 to more than half a dozen. It seems some of these men are from the bandit group, while the others are truckers who have managed to block the Lady A, and its bandits in a confrontation kick off amongst the group after the would-be bandits have been thoroughly pummeled. About 1/2 men are seen heaving the ladder, which is parked on the side of the road, until it rolls onto its roof. It's lucky the truckers banded together, because it seems they're better together. The bandits lost this time.